table, but as well being thrust right into the league campaign?
It's actually been really good. It feels a lot longer than 2 weeks, if I'm being honest. I think there's every minute and hour that goes by you're looking to try and fill it with as much as you possibly can in terms of information and assessing, of course, in terms of what the club needs. But it's been really good. The response from the players has been excellent, and I actually think the competitive edge for us is the best thing that could happen. I think you can dwell on things too much and look to over-prepare. The reality is that we need to win games, we need to be ready to compete, and I think that's where we are.
It was an emphatic win in the end against Montrose at the weekend. You've got Hearts, which will be another test. Where do you feel that your squad is in terms of depth to not only face those challenges but excel?
Well, look, it's two different types of challenges. I think the first game of the season, travelling up to Montrose, you always know it's got the potential to be a little bit sticky. Certainly that opening period of the game, which it was. But it's about finding solutions to the problems that we're faced with, and in Montrose we managed to do that. And Hearts will be no different, a really good side. They've recruited extremely well. They're a side that I've got the utmost respect for. They're a side that are up there and absolutely challenging, as they should be, in terms of the investment and how the club are treating their ambitions. So we won't underestimate them. We know it's going to be a really tough test at Ibrox. It's a test that we've had before last season there, and it's one that we'll embrace and we're really looking forward to it.
You've been in coaching for a long time. This is obviously your first job as head coach. What does a Leanne Crichton team look like? What is your style? What can the fans expect?
Very much focused on possession, but possession with a purpose. Knowing the type of person and character that I am. I love enjoying having the football and moving it, but here at Rangers we need to bring, first of all we want to get bums on seats, and we then want to take them back off it with that excitement. We want the fans to be with us on Sunday when we take to Ibrox and we take to that pitch. Really forward thinking, attacking football, lots of intensity and energy all over the pitch, and I trust and I believe that every player that takes to the pitch can go and deliver that, and that's probably the biggest thing for me just now, is instilling that belief and confidence in the group that it doesn't matter where we play or who we play against, that we can go and dominate the ball and we can go and create. That's been the message in training, that's how it's looked, that's how it will continue to look, and so far the signs have been really positive.
I suppose yourself and the players are excited about getting started at Ibrox, your new home away from Broadwood for most of the time. What do you think the advantages are for you on the pitch? Because the most important thing is winning the game, playing in the stadium.
But I think the arena itself is an advantage. Right? We need to treat it as an advantage, we need to see it as that, we need to appreciate the home and the opportunity that we've got to play there. I think the platform for the players should inspire you right away before you deliver tactics or any game plan. To play at Ibrox should be something that you're absolutely buzzing to do as a player. And I think there was points in that last season. I think the players embraced that opportunity. I think they can go and do that a little bit more, and that needs to be the advantage for us. We need to treat it, and it's got to become a fortress. Teams that travel to Ibrox should never come with the expectation that they'll leave with points, and that's up to me to get that message across. It's not going to be easy, I don't think, at this stage of the season when you look at inconsistencies, and that's only natural for any side. But we're really excited about the prospect of it being a more consistent thing this season, and that's the element of it that we need to embrace. But the reality is there will be games at Broadwood, and that is something that we'll also embrace. We need to be adaptable, we need to be agile, we need to be ready to perform and play wherever we go. I think in the Scottish Women's Premier League, everywhere you go week by week, the challenge in terms of the surface and the environment is different, and that's something that we've grown accustomed to.
Didn't give apology, obviously, that we've seen her up close, and your time at Motherwell and Glasgow City as well. She seems to have brought Hearts on year. What are you expecting from them? Absolutely,
she's got a clear identity, the way she wants her side to play. I don't think that's changed since she came in. I think it was very clear in the early part of her career there, and she's just looked to grow in that. As I touched on, they've recruited really well. Of course, like most teams, they lost a few key players at the end of last season, but Hearts are a really strong side, and as I mentioned earlier on, I expect them to be there and ready to compete on Sunday.
Hi Leanne, you obviously spoke there about bringing the fans in and needing them to be on board. Is the best way to do that by just simply winning trophies to get the interest there and to get really fans behind this team? Quite possibly. I think this Rangers women's side is 4 trophies from 6. I think the one that everybody wants is, of course, the title. If that's going to make it or break it, whether people come to games, then that's obviously the ambition for us, is that we can go and do that, and we look to strive to achieve that this season. But I think Rangers Football Club are bigger than that. I think they back both their men's and women's sides regardless.
and that's what we need more of. I think we've started the season well last week in terms of that first win, but for me, looking at it as a head coach, there's nothing that would inspire my group of players more than having a fan base that come out and support you. Give us that pressure. The pressure to play at this football club is an absolute privilege, to have the fan base that we've got, and that's the bit that I think we can still tap into a lot more. I'm excited to see how many fans come on Sunday, and I know the planning around that at times can be tricky, but I still think there's a real opportunity to get behind the team, and the more that happens, I think the more you'll see the players embrace that.
Do you think this weekend will be a better gauge in the progress that you've made in a short time? Because was it possibly harder to adjust that when you're up against Montrose who get a player sent off quite early in the game?
I think it's going to be difficult in this part of the season, if I'm honest. I think when you look at the squad and a number of key players that are also missing from the squad just now, we're working really hard to try and get them back and fit and available, but we're at a point in the season where there's no panic. So there's no pressure. Like for me, I want the players to go and take on board everything that we've been working on. I want them to play with that pressure, but I want them to play with a knowing in confidence that I'm not going to come after them in the first couple of games if it doesn't look perfect. I think I'm very realistic. Yes, we need to be ready to compete, and I don't think we can accept anything less, but the reality is there'll be mistakes that won't look perfect, but we're Rangers and we need to find a way, and that's the bit I'm looking forward to just now, is that the players know that that's where the pressure lies and they're ready for that.
Leanne, hi. I just wondered, obviously, how your life's kind of changed upon taking this role, and how all-encompassing is this job when you're in that route?
If I'm honest, it's not changed too much. I've had a bit more time to focus actually just on my day job, which has been fantastic. And I say it all the time, it's about balance for me in life, and I knew that when I took the job. It was ultimately about ensuring that, first and foremost, to make that decision and to come here, that the balance was good in order to make that choice. And now that I'm here, I need to work my life around it. So no, it's very much been business as usual for me. I try and take things in my stride. I've not tried to overcook it in terms of information and what I'm trying to get on board. I'm very much still assessing the job. I'm only here just over 2 weeks, so there's only so much that you can do in that time without being overwhelming and an absolute killjoy. So it's been really good. It's really good, and I'm loving it.
See, in terms of pressure and nerves, how does being Rangers manager compare to going live as a pundit on TV or radio?
Ask me at the end of the season. No, look, there's bits of the job that I think you get used to anything. I think throughout my whole life I've got comfortable being uncomfortable, and there's still bits of that I'm trying to do. I think people take it for granted that you enjoy this side of it just because you can analyse and speak about football games. There's much more to the job than that, but it's very much people orientated, and me as a person, that's the way I've been. So again, I'm trying to embrace that side of the job as well.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Leanne. When we spoke to Fiona McIntyre a couple of weeks ago, I was asking how do you get more spectators to women's football. She said that playing in the bigger stadium is certainly going to help. What other things do you think needs to happen for more spectators to attend?
For me, it's about consistency, and I think that's the one thing that works. Anything that's successful, generally you find that there's a level of consistency there. So even for us being at Ibrox, it has to be a level of consistency across the season. Fans need to know. I think timing and planning and communication is really vitally key so that you can get that on board commitment from people. But the growth of the game has been there, and I'm not going to bang the same drum that I've been banging for the last 20 years. The women's game just now is in a brilliant place, and we want people to come with us on that journey. Certainly at Rangers, we know that we can continue to do more. The investment's there. I think the buy-in, maybe the winning titles, is the difference maker for people to really go and pack the stadium out and get behind the team. And that is how you define success. But for me just now, the success looks slightly different, and we need to do as much as we possibly can in terms of a playing squad. But there's only so much that we can control, and I'm very realistic with that. But I think Scottish women's football as a whole just now is in a really good place. I think a successful national team ultimately helps with that as well. They go hand in hand. I think if we can get back to major tournaments, you only need to look as far as England to see how the game is thriving down there, and that's no coincidence that the investment comes when you've got a really successful national team coupled with a really strong domestic league. So we've got that in Scotland just now. We know how competitive the league campaign has been. I think it'll be very similar this season, and hopefully the fans that have been with us on the journey, and if there's any more that want to come and tag on, we'd love to have you.
Okay guys, thanks everybody.
Right, cheers, thank you.